Hello, my name is Blade, and this is what I watched in April. I'm not gonna lie, this month started off a little rough for me. I didn't watch a lot that I loved at the beginning and in the middle, but towards the end, things started looking up. So, let's get into it. Yet again, I started my month off on a depressing note, but an extremely beautiful and daring depression. I think if you're at all into film or have found yourself in the depths of film talk, you've heard of this film, which is It's a Beautiful Day. I've had this film on my watch list for a very, very long time, but it's unfortunately not the easiest to get a hold of to watch, but I found a way. Insert VPN sponsorship here. This movie is devastating, but it's also, I hate how film bro cinephile this is going to make me sound, but it's beautifully tragic. This film showcases an aspect of the human experience in such a raw, unflinching way, made all the more impactful by the multimedia filmmaking. I've never seen a film that looks like this, let alone one that explores the topic of memory loss and neurological issues. To me, this is an absolute you must watch this at least once in your lifetime kind of film. No notes, 10 out of 10. Next up, I watched Danny Boyle's Sunshine. This was an interesting one because I was both interested and indifferent about it at the same time. The very boiled down plot is a mission is enacted to save the dying sun using a bomb in order to save humanity. It's a standard sci fi flick at first with some dramatic tensions, but without spoilers, it does eventually dip into some horror territory. The thing is, the premise did engage me, but something about the way the story moves forward and unfolds just wasn't for me. The horror element that gets brought in I found actually to be really engaging, but I felt it was a bit random. The progression to that plot point didn't feel natural to me. I would like to see the version of this movie where the third act is the premise of the whole movie. This was by no means a bad movie, just not my cup of tea. However, what I will say is Danny Boyle's direction is great as always. There's some really cool shots involving the sun. The cast is great. Cillian Murphy in the lead with Michelle Yeoh, Rose Byrne, Benedict Wong, and a long-haired Chris Evans, which was something. I guess I was in a space mood because next up I watched Europa Report. This was one I heard about from Sarah from the Possessed by Horror YouTube channel. I was scrolling on Tubi and remembered her talking about it, so I gave it a shot. Honestly, y'all, this movie is rated very low, but I'm not mad at it personally. I thought it was doing something pretty interesting, and it's much better than Apollo 18, which has a very similar plot. A group of astronauts and varying scientists journey to one of Jupiter's moons, Europa, in hopes of finding life under its icy surface. For a small budget film, the cosmic imagery is not bad whatsoever. I think the plot is entertaining. It's also surprisingly convincing. Like, obviously, we know it's not real, but the acting and framing are very well done. I have mixed feelings on the ending, but overall, I enjoyed this. The only thing that took me out was the cheesy looking tech overlay. Alright, girls, buckle up because I did not like this. In the middle of the month, I watched Gia Coppola's Palo Alto. This is kind of a loose plot film following some teenagers in Palo Alto, California, navigating youth and some very adult situations. It's based on some short stories written by James Franco, who grew up in Palo Alto. I saw a couple people say they enjoy this movie for the cinematography, but honestly, that wasn't enough for me to save it aside from like one scene. Besides that, I don't really think the cinematography was anything interesting. I'm fine with films that don't necessarily have a plot, but this is one that just felt completely empty, especially for some of the topics and themes it contains. The ending to me was also jarring. It felt like it was leading up to a few things that have been boiling up the whole movie and then just cuts to black. Personally, I just didn't care for this. I only enjoyed the poster art and a few shots of Emma Roberts, but even then, the context of that particular scene makes them a bit hard to appreciate. Side note, I discovered the James Franco scandal after watching this movie, and yeah, it kind of just solidifies my opinions of this movie. Okay, I'm sorry, but I had to do a little self promo, but technically, I did also watch this in April, so it counts. In case you missed it, on April 17th, I dropped my short film Glimmer. I kinda consider this my debut film work because stuff I've made prior is more performance art based, whereas this has an actual narrative. The presentation is a bit experimental and it's on the slow burn side, but if you enjoy psychological horror and character driven stories, consider checking it out. If you're a fan of Pearl, I think you might really enjoy it. It's not perfect and it's low budget, but I'm very proud of it and I can't wait for you to see what I have coming up next. I may have something coming even sooner than you think.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
I submit into evidence all the things that were written in invisible ink. All the torture, all the guided manipulation. With full transparency and brutal clarity, our contract is hereby dissolved. My cousin and I randomly stumbled upon this one night looking for something to watch, and I ended up very impressed. I did take a peek on Letterboxd to see that other people seem to not like this as much, and I can see why, but personally, I like what this film is doing. Unlike Palo Alto, this film handles the topic and dynamic of grooming much better. Good Girl Jane follows a teenage girl who gets involved with a 21-year-old drug dealer. What I enjoyed here is how real this felt. Unfortunately, I am no stranger to this dynamic, having been in Jane's position before, however, thankfully, not to the extremes in this film. Who knows, maybe I'll be exploring my experience through my art in some way. I don't know if the director or screenwriter was writing from personal experience, but there's a real authenticity here. I love that we don't shy away from the euphoria that one experiences despite how awful the situation is, and then it crashes and burns and you're stuck pondering the reality of it retroactively. I understand why this movie doesn't work for everyone, but if you know, you know. Also, stellar lead performance from Rain Spencer. Now, if you want to talk about hidden gems, which I often do, here's another prime example. This was a random movie find, and I was very moved by this film. The story follows two guys in a friend group who have to share a kiss for a student film project, which unleashes years of repressed feelings between the two. This movie is not at all what I thought it was going to be, but in the best way possible. I was expecting something a bit more conventional, like they find out they're gay for each other and start sleeping around all the time until it crashes and burns, but no, babes. This hit very different. We spend so much time with these characters in their lives before they even end up in the same room together again. We really get into their inner turmoils and how that probably affects their feelings towards each other. There is so much said without anything being said at all. This is a great show me, don't tell me film. Additionally, the cinematography goes the fuck off. There is some gorgeous shots that had me yelling at my TV like a football game. There's this sequence of the two of them in a shed, and all I have to say is, my God, the filmmaking and some other stuff, but the filmmaking, I was just like, my God. The ending is a really bold choice that I like, and I think I'm going to choose this as my film for my video essay in Pride Month. I really can't recommend this film enough. Well, the tradition continues of me unintentionally reserving the last film of the month for an absolute banger because we have no other choice. I've been waiting for so long to watch this. I had to hear about it all award season long and not get to see it, but finally Neon released it to Hulu, and bitch, this eats. Park Chan-wook makes great films, and this is no exception. I loved the blend of absurdist comedy, drama, and tension. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm still unpacking the full scope of the social commentary, but I very much respect what he was putting down. Lee Byung-hun is amazing, and so is Son Ye-jin. My favorite part of this film is without a doubt the cinematography. Not only the shots and the direction, but the coloring really blew me away. This movie looks great. As mad as I am, it got almost no appreciation during awards season. After seeing it, I do kind of understand why it's something the Academy wouldn't go for, but like, come on, guys. Well, that's all for the month of April. You know, after looking back at this list, it doesn't seem like it was that rough of a month, but I don't include new releases in these. I think the new releases I watched added to my lackluster feelings at the start of the month. But anyhow, that's all for this month. Stay tuned for updates on my new performance art film, Invisible Ink, dropping on May 29th. But until then, I will see you in the next one.